everybody, and a very warm welcome back to our 7th Women in Sectional Title webinar. We're really, really happy and proud that this initiative has gained such good traction. And when I see the people who are just coming back, I get a list of everybody who's registered in the morning, and we greatly appreciate the support. So thank you very, very much for that. Our aim with Women in Sectional Title is really fourfold. Firstly, it's to connect women and to ensure that networking opportunities become available. Secondly, it's to provide advice, to provide relevant information and more learning opportunities for women. Thirdly, it's to represent all the women in the sectional title industry, whether you be an owner or a portfolio manager, in the larger, more strategic decisions that are taken by the industry as a whole. And fourthly, it's really to funnel, guide, and direct young women into a dynamic and interesting sector. And I'm very happy to tell you as well that we've now got 4 sponsors on board. We've got ZDFin, which is a specialist finance company which provides smart solutions to community schemes. CIA have joined us as well. CIA, one of South Africa's largest sectional title community scheme insurers. We have MeetingPal. MeetingPal provides a solution with regard to online meetings, and we had them on board last time chatting to us. And last but not least, BCM Track. BCM Track are really innovative when it comes to the software, scheme management software. And I'd really like to direct you all onto the sponsors page on Women in Sectional Title on the website to look through those sponsors. And I say again, thank you very much. They've provided support and come to the party so quickly. Right, today we're talking about developing leadership in sectional title. And we know that when you've got leaders on every level, whether you're an owner in a sectional title scheme or whether you're a portfolio manager in a sectional title scheme or own your own management company, the organizations that you lead become so much more effective and so much more, and so much stronger. So I think leadership is a really, really majorly important and critical part of sectional title management. And today, we're very happy to have on board 3 ladies who are running their own shows and who are leaders in their own right in the sectional title industry. Firstly, Lillian Waldek. Lillian is from Imber Property Management. Hello, Lillian, if you'd like to say hello. She's the managing director, actually, at Imber Property Management.
Good morning, Marina. Morning, everybody.
Then we've got Pearl Skeltema of Fitsani Estates, so the CEO of Fitsani Estates. Hello, Pearl. Welcome to you. Pearl, can you hear me? I don't think Pearl can hear. Oh dear, Pearl's...
The connection is very bad, but I do catch a word here and there. Thank you so much for welcoming me.
Thank you, Pearl. And then Michelle Person is from the MD at Lumic Property Consultants. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Marina, and welcome to everyone this morning.
Thank you so much, ladies. Really appreciate your time. And we're going to be talking about where you ladies started, how you got to the top, and you know, we're gonna ask you about all different things, from how you relieve stress, to how you deal with your portfolio managers, to how you see women leaders in body corporates as owners and what role they can play as well. So I think I'm going to start with you, Michelle. I know that you got into sectional title in quite a strange way. We've known each other for many years, and it wasn't as though you said, right, I'm studying and I'm going to go into sectional title property management. Just tell me more or less what happened. How did you get into sectional title?
Thanks, Marina. Yes, you're quite correct. It was a strange way. And I often wonder if I should have made a different decision at the time. It's a very challenging industry that we're in, as we all know. When I bought into sectional title, I had no clue of what I was buying into. And I thought I was buying my own property, as I think most of our owners do. And there was no one to educate me differently. And this was in the 1990s. So sectional title was fairly new. And the developer that developed the complex kept quite a few of the units for rental purposes. And I was very unhappy with how the complex was managed. The current managing agent at that time was not doing a good job at all, not following the Sectional Title Act. And we had a lot of issues. I then made myself the chairperson literally by marching into the managing agent's office and demanding to be chairperson because there was absolutely no control in the complex. And then took over the management of the complex. We went to a new managing agent and found that they were very, very expensive. And then we kind of looked at self-management. And when I was facing retrenchment in my career, I went to the developer and noted that I wasn't going to be the chairperson anymore. And he had a long list of rentals waiting to get into the building because it was very well managed. Unfortunately, I got the title of Hitler because I was so strict in the complex and enforcing the rules. And then offered to have me start a managing agent division for him in his development company, which I did. And a couple of years later, he asked me to take it and go on my own because it wasn't his core business. So it was definitely not something I was thinking of getting into.
Yeah, so it's amazing how sometimes we fall into something by accident. It's not something that we start with. So Lillian, I just wanted to ask you now as well. You started in dealing with waterproofing and painting and all of that in your career, in the early days. Tell us about how you got into being a managing agent.
Yes, I've had some strange job opportunities in my life. And in most companies, I started as a filing clerk and slowly but surely worked myself up into a position. So the one company I worked for was ABE, Industrial Products. They manufactured waterproofing sealants, adhesives, grouts. And we used to have constant training because I was part of the sales team, although it was only the admin team. And eventually I became the estimator. And that entailed getting into overalls, getting out there with the guys, putting the slurry on the floor, waterproofing roofs. I even waterproofed my own car's roof. Long story there.
What? Yeah. Oh dear, I think the network looks like it's unstable. Yeah, carry on. We can hear you.
We then moved down to the Cape and I felt myself at a little bit of a loss. I previously had my own business, and you come down to the Cape and no one wants to employ you because you had your own business. So what experience do you have? So I was fortunate to actually be invited to be a managing agent at a company in Stellenbosch, a large company, which they gave very, very good training to their staff, I must admit. And after about 5 years, I thought, okay, fine. I've had about 100 AGMs. I've had about 100 budget meetings. I've had about 300 trustees meetings. And slowly but surely, I thought, well, okay, fine. Perhaps now I know what I'm doing. In the beginning, the first few months, I was walking around like a zombie. There is just so much to sectional title.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then I found my niche, and I'm very happy with what I do.
It's also just a journey. And I think that obviously the waterproofing side of it and all of that actually probably helps you as a managing agent now. I think that Pearl has dropped off. If she can rejoin, that would be great. But what she said and what was interesting, Fitsani Estate is in Pretoria, and she's got 100% women staff complement. And the one thing that I really liked, when we spoke earlier with Pearl, was that she said that a leader needs to have the courage to realize other people's potential and to want them to have their own personal success in their lives that you have in your own life in order to become a really, really valuable leader. I think that's quite important. So, Michelle, what would you have liked to know before you started your own business? If you'd been given advice now, what would you have liked to know?
Marina, I think on a practical level, if there was somebody that could give guidance to somebody starting their own business for the first time. So I think there's so much legislation and administration that goes into a business, especially, well, I'm sure in all countries, but particularly here. And you can go and do a varsity degree, which I did, and you can get the practical theory. But when you come to putting it into practice, if there was somebody in a leadership role or a mentor that could take you through what you need to do, I would have found that much more beneficial. So I started off my business and am still predominantly there today, where I am doing most of the work, and overseeing my company is actually left to my business partner. Whereas I should be more on growing my company and overseeing my company and playing a leadership role rather than working within the company. I mean, once you start a company working from within that company, it's very hard to shift roles. So I think if I could have had a mentor when I started my company, it would have taken me a lot further, and it would have been a lot easier than it has been.
Yeah, and that they very much so. And Lillian, what would you have liked to be told before you started your business?
I must agree with Michelle. I thought, okay, fine, I can do sectional title, I can do this. And then I opened up my doors, and then I bumped heads with the large companies. They organized, they got reputations, immaterial that they've got a major staff turnover and the background staff isn't as qualified. But it really, really is not an easy step. I mean, you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes you've got to take a step sideways. And just the extra things of going with your own business. You've got to register for this. You've got to remember to send your tax returns in at this time. You've got to register with wages, this, over and above your actual sectional title property management business. And that does throw a person. It's really, really difficult. And also starting off being very small, you cannot always afford qualified staff. It's a very long haul to get to anywhere, but you have to be persistent and have passion for what you do.
And I think that's, you know, what I found in my actually starting to become too many years in sectional title is that you find that people in a complex will say, oh, well, I'm retired now, so I think I can take over a business. I could run a managing agency. But little do they realize that you actually need a critical mass in order to run a successful managing agency business. So I think that's, you know, people just think it's easy and that they're going to just move forward and run a successful business. I want to talk a little bit about women owners in sectional title, Michelle, from a leadership perspective with women in a complex as owners. Do you see that women are starting to step up and take the roles of chair ladies and trustees? How do you find that, and how do you know, what kind of advice would you also give to women owners and women portfolio managers in becoming leaders or being in leadership roles?
So yeah, there are quite a few female trustees and females in the role of chairperson. And I find that when I have complexes where we have that situation, it's much, much easier to work with them. I think women do take leadership seriously. And when they put into that kind of role, they put a lot of effort and time into it. Whereas I think men are more interested in their businesses and their other endeavors, unless they're looking for the title of chairperson. So women also, I think, tend to respect each other a lot more. So when I deal with my trustees, you have some men that are phenomenal and they're there to serve the complex and they're there for the better good, and they are willing to take advice and to work with a female owned managing agent company. But you get a lot of men that have chips on their shoulders and who think they know better than women and who are not interested in taking advice from a woman, which makes it very difficult. Whereas women are more inclined to discuss things, to take their advice, to look for different ways of solving problems. So I tend to have a much better relationship with my female trustees and chair people, although I do have some good relationships with the males. but I find a lot of the times the males just fight against a female in power all the time. And if I have my operations manager come to a meeting, because he's male, they will straight away take any advice from him, listen to him, agree with him, whereas they will always test me. And I mean, even attend seminars to double question what I tell them. It's an ongoing struggle.
What I found interesting when we chatted before as well, Michelle, sorry, just to take on that, go forward with this topic, is that you said also with portfolio managers, what are the biggest mistakes that women make as managing agents now, not as owners? And you said that they care too much. They become too emotionally involved and they care too much. Is that, tell us more about that?
So I think just from watching the people that have worked for me during the years, and particularly where my partner and I are concerned, it's taken me a very, very long time. I mean, I've been in business now. My company's been going for 15 years. And it's taken me a very long time to emotionally detach myself. We become so invested, and I think we're so passionate about what we do. And speaking for myself, you know, when I know something is right, according to the Sectional Title Act, and we run our business, I run my business black and white, and with a lot of integrity. So when people don't want to follow the act, you know, emotionally, I become very, very upset and invested and take it personally. And it actually leads to arguments with my clients. Which is not always the best way to go in business, because you want to keep your clients. But because you're a female, sometimes, like I said, they don't want to listen. And then they want to do illegal things, which we as a company will just not allow. So again, it's just, it's difficult. And I think watching my male portfolio managers, it's, well, here's a question, here's an answer. This is what the act says. Whereas females will think about it and not sleep and, you know, want to talk about it with everyone and dig deeper and see how we can help, and get so upset when our advice isn't taken. And, if you know, I'm just too personally invested most of the time. Yeah, absolutely. Lillian, I wanted to ask you as well. I know that you worked from home quite a lot during this COVID pandemic. Are you still working at home, and how are you feeling about it? What are your plans?
It's really been an eye-opener how people can actually operate from home. The internet makes it a very small world we're living in. I do find that qualified people that's dedicated and has got commitments, like a bookkeeper, or, you know, they can work at home without any problems whatsoever. But being in such a diverse sectional title field, the less experienced members need a mentor there. They need someone to be able to ask questions, to bounce things off on. So unless you are qualified, highly qualified, 5, 6, 7 years, you know what you're doing, you can do it instinctively, the junior staff do need to work together to feel that, okay, fine, we're all experiencing the same thing. Just like Michelle was saying, I'm so glad that she experiences exactly the disappointments I have with the males. Everyone looks at them and they get all this major respect, and you get put, you know, looked one side, and you've got to try that a little bit extra. So it's important for young girls to start, to know it's going to be very, very difficult, and to be mentored properly, step by step. Not made easy for them. Nothing comes easy, but it's the younger staff need to be in an office environment.
And it's to gain confidence. I think it's very much about confidence. You know, I think it's all very well to speak from a position of power now when you're in an agency and you're a leader. But I think when you start off in the industry, it's very difficult for young portfolio managers or young owners, young women owners who phone me almost every day saying, listen, they're not taking me seriously. I've tried to put my point forward, but it's gaining confidence, and it's about being educated and being knowledgeable, and trying to set boundaries, because people only treat you how you allow them to treat you. And that's what we try to say to all even our young attorneys here at my office. You know, if you're allowing people to fob you off or to sideline you, then I mean that's part of the problem. Okay, we're going to move on now to a question that's coming up quite a lot, and I see it on a lot of the social media posts, etc., about the community scheme ombud service. And I have invited the community scheme ombud service, the women that are running it, because now we've got compliance officers, the chief ombud, and a couple of other strong ladies in leadership roles there. But what I wanted to find out, and you can be as honest as you want, this is no holds barred, how do you feel about the community scheme ombud service, and how do you think it can improve? Michelle?
Thanks, Marina. I just want to note that I see Pearl is back online as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try.
As far as the community schemes ombud service, I was very excited when it first started, and it worked extremely well for us. But over COVID, I think they've had their issues, like we all have, and the service levels seem to be very, very slow. We have a lot of cases logged with them that we're not getting any traction on, which is sad. And then the other thing is that most of our cases with them are for unpaid levies, because it is a quicker and cheaper route for complexes to go for collection of levies. But they seem to be giving very, very lenient orders in the arrears arena. So, for example, I've had people owing 100,000 Rand, and they say they can make a 2,000 Rand per month payment with no interest. And the body corporate has a signed resolution for charging interest. So that's in conflict with the body corporate's resolution. And they're not taking that into account, even though it is presented. And the payment arrangements are ridiculous. And I mean, I understand it's COVID, I understand everyone's battling. But as much as the individual is going to battle is as much as the body corporate as a whole is going to battle, and it's unfair on the paying owners. So I've been a little bit disillusioned, and I've now actually moved away from CSOS, where collection of levies is concerned, and I've actually gone to a debt collector company, because I just feel CSOS isn't serving us properly in that realm anymore. And quite upset to see that they've moved their offices to Centurion now, and that they're not based in Gauteng anymore. I don't know the reason for that, but it was upsetting to see that they've actually closed their offices here.
Yeah, I think the rationale behind that was it was sort of more central to the rest of the, you know, to certain other areas. And I think they're going to be putting up quite a few more satellite offices. Pearl, you're back online. Can you hear us? Shame, I think Pearl's battling. No.
Yeah. Now I can. You said something about CSOS.
Pearl, yeah, just wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts about CSOS? No, I don't think she can. No. Oh dear, sorry, we're going to have to, unfortunately, we aren't able to hear you. Lillian, do you want to tell us your thoughts about the community scheme ombud?
Once again, yes, there is a great need for independent arbitrator, mediator, someone to take off the boxing gloves and actually let people sit down and talk. But with every dispute, there's a winner and there's a loser. So you will have a lot of people complaining about the service, and they didn't listen to me, and they didn't hear my side, and you know, what have I done wrong? Because the person doesn't want to lose. When it comes to the conciliation phase, most of the cases that I had were resolved by the mere fact that it was more professionally done than sitting in the office with just the people involved discussing the issues. But when it comes to the more serious issues, and that's where people's investments are involved, that's where the serious mismanagement takes place. I think CSOS seems to not acknowledge your complaints. Long-term, up to 2 years I'm waiting for the one issue, and there's so much that's happened in those 2 years that issue is almost null and void.
Oh, it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, so that complex is going to have to survive one way or the other, because it's just almost too late. So in the more serious issues, I feel very, very disappointed.
I do think that there's quite a lot of work that does need to be done, particularly on fundamental issues, getting, basics and fundamentals right. But I'm very optimistic that going forward over the years, it's going to organically grow and going to assist. And I was reading a very interesting article about Australia, about New South Wales, where they have proposed now to the government and to the tribunals that deal with these dispute resolutions, that there's a central hub that gets formed with all the information of all the owners. So if I'm a prospective buyer into sectional title, I can go onto this hub. It's called a strata hub. And you can go and find out the price of the property, all the details of the managing agent, every single thing. And also, not only that, but it also keeps an eye on the maintenance plan in that building and whether or not they're complying with the maintenance plan. So, it's a huge ask for us to even think about that with the community scheme ombud now, but it just shows you and it opens up the world to what is available and what we can be doing. And I think that's where we need to also focus and to press the community scheme ombud to start on these really larger projects, but to get the fundamentals right first. I think it's important. So Michelle, you mentioned, you've got this hectic, it's a hectic life. I know that you are exceptionally hands-on in your business. What are your goals? Where do you want to get with your business? Do you want to grow it? Do you want to consolidate it? What are your thoughts around that?
So, yeah, I do want to grow it. And at the moment, I want to step away from the daily operations. We're actually busy discussing, my partner is Candace, my sister, and without her, the business certainly wouldn't be where it is today. So, sorry, I become emotional when I speak to that. She has been an absolute source of support and strength for me over the years, and we wouldn't be where we are today if we weren't together as a team. And she basically runs Lumic for me, while I concentrate more on the day-to-day operations and the actual management of the buildings, although she is a superwoman and she manages buildings herself as well. So I want to look at going forward this year to remove Candace and myself from the actual day-to-day activities of managing buildings and to concentrate more on the business and the growth of the business. We do have a sales and rental division that's run by Melissa Oosthuizen, who is also phenomenal. And then we also have a maintenance division that's run by Quentin Lawrence, who's also great in that role. And I want to concentrate more on growing those three sections of the business. And as I say, stepping away from the daily operations, because I think that should have been done years ago. We would have been a lot further down the line and a lot more of a bigger force. But as Lillian noted, it is a struggle, because once you start your business, you can't afford to just grow and to get the manpower in so that you can sit back and just strategize on your business. So in the beginning, you have to work in your business. And then it's exceptionally difficult to get finance. The banks are not really interested in financing. So you can't go to them and say, okay, I want to grow and I need a loan for staff, salaries and marketing and things like that. We've tried that for years, and you hit a brick wall all the time. And then once you are involved with your clients on a daily basis and they know you, they actually don't want to actually meet staff or I call them my team. They don't want to meet new team members or to have new team members advising them or taking their meetings. So they keep referring things back to you, and so do the team members, because they don't have confidence in themselves, because your clients don't have confidence in them, because your clients are so used to dealing with you over all the years. So it's a very hard step to do, to actually remove yourself from the daily operations and try and concentrate on the business. I've been trying to do that for years. So if anyone in this meeting has any advice, I'm open to it with open arms and big flapping ears. But that's where I want to go going forward. You know, we want to try and I'm going to have talks with ZDFIN, because apparently they do assist in financing managing agents. So I'm going to be meeting with Michael Schaefer to discuss that possibility. And then at least I can get the infrastructure in that will allow Candice and I to develop the business and to make it grow.
Great, thank you. And Lillian, how big are you wanting to get, or is that not necessarily a goal of yours?
My goal is basically to get it. I don't want to be very big. I want to stay small. I want to be more specialized. I concentrate on complexes, the smaller complexes that in financial difficulties. Those, to me, are challenges. But females need to be given a chance, as they've always been disadvantaged. So if smaller, you can take on 1 or 2 extra people and take them through the steps with you and let them grow over a 5-year period so that they eventually can be a qualified managing agent as such and take a step further. But education and knowledge to me has always been a very, very important role. Even being a chair lady of ComSec for so many years, where we had, that's where I met you, Marina, we had seminars, we had all the top guys coming on, speaking to trustees, to owners, training them. And that's always been a passion of mine, because your new owners is going to eventually be your trustees. And they need to be able to respect the knowledge that a managing agent has got. And if they find that they can work with their managing agent instead of fight with their managing agent, life will be so much better for everybody. But it's a matter of you and me. It's not a you and me. It's a partnership with your clients, and that's what counts.
Yeah, very much. That's so true, so true. Absolutely, I agree with that. So there's a leadership guru by the name of John Maxwell. Some of you might have heard about him. And he's written some really very interesting articles about leadership and about the fact that you don't have to be at the top to actually lead any organization. He calls it 360-degree leadership. And that is that 99% of leadership actually takes place from the middle. So when you're looking at a sectional title complex, a body corporate, it's not necessarily the chairman or the trustees at the top that lead. It's also the owners who can lift things up, and it can concretize things to make decision making easier, and to lead from across and sort of downwards and to consolidate. And I think that's important, because a lot of people will be saying on this webinar as well, we're not owning our managing agencies. We don't know. I'm just a portfolio manager. I've been here for 2 years. Or as an owner, I'm just an owner. I don't really have much say in what happens. And I think that's not right. I think that leadership does take place within an organization on every level. And the old adage, too many chiefs, well, John Maxwell disagrees with that. He says that there can actually be too many chiefs. The more leaders there are in their own roles, on their own levels, the better it is. And he also talks about developing, how do you become a good leader? And I mean, these ladies obviously know how to become a good leader, but it's developing strong key roles with key people in your complex, not only trustees, not only chairmen. I think would you agree with that, Michelle? Relationship building is incredibly important, even with estate agents, in a complex, with owners, with everyone.
That's true, Marina. There's so many players that are involved. And if you can have a good relationship with all of them, it's to the betterment of the complex. And as you mentioned, there's the letting agents, the owners, the tenants, trustees, your chairperson. There's so many stakeholders. And one thing that Candice has always harped on is that if you make an enemy of one person that's involved in the management of that complex, it makes your life difficult. And your owners that you might not have a good relationship with one day will become a trustee, and then it will make it very difficult in that complex for you. But just to streamline your working and for the betterment of the complex, a good relationship with all stakeholders is very, very important.
And Lillian, if I can ask you a question about communication, because that's also really a leader has to communicate. If you're not communicating, you're not marketing yourself, you're not telling everybody what you're doing to keep up with the common vision of that body corporate or of your managing agency. I mean, what are your how do you communicate with your owners and trustees and the guys in your business?
I do try to send out regular newsletters. And each newsletter has got something to do with a particular body corporate, and then the rest is just general information. It's very difficult because each complex has got its own issue, its own problem, each personality. It's like a flower, each one's different. And but communication is, you've got to let them know that you are there, that you are available. Sometimes the emails may not be answered exactly the same day, but you need to explain that, you know, if we can just get around to it within the next 3-4 days. Sometimes you need to look something up in the Acts, and sometimes you need to rewrite a letter or something, to a warning letter or something of the sort. So it's a slow moving field, but yes, you've got to communicate. You've got to just send out a notice every now and then saying, listen, we are here.
Yeah.
It's important.
Very much so. And I mean, communicating your successes, and that will attract success as well. I mean, I know you ladies are extremely hard at work, and you've probably got huge amounts of work to do, and I could keep you here all day. But what I want to understand from you is, with all this work that you do, how do you relieve stress? And Michelle, you've got to talk me through this trauma release therapy, because you never know, maybe I'll go for it as well.
It's a very interesting concept, and once again, I have Candace to thank for introducing me to it. I'm not a tablet person at all, so I do not like taking tablets or anything like that. And in our busyness, I don't really find much time to do exercise either, which is very sad, because I used to be an aerobics instructor, and I used to be very big into my fitness. So to get around the time issue and not take drugs, and it's very, very stressful. I did have a mentor when I started my business, but he was in Sectional Title, and some of you might know him. He's Sarel Ickerman, and he's very, very, very knowledgeable. And he said to me, the day that you have an AGM meeting and you are not nervous is the day you need to get out of Sectional Title, because then you've lost your edge and you kind of don't care, and you don't have a passion for it anymore. And I find every AGM meeting stressful. You never know what the owners are going to throw at you, and you can be as prepared as you want. You're dealing with human nature, and you're dealing with their personal emotions, where you're coming from a business perspective, but they're emotional because it's usually their largest asset. And they can be emotional about fighting with their neighbors, or having a dustbin that wasn't cleaned, and it can, you know, erupt into this huge feud at a meeting. So stress, as everyone will know, is a huge part. So I've been introduced to something called stress releasing exercises, and it's very, very intricate, and there's a very detailed explanation which I don't even get. But the basic premise is that when we were like living in the cave days, or like an animal in the wild, so we'll use the analogy of like a deer being chased by a lion, you have a fight or a flight response. So that deer can either fight the lion or flight from the lion. And when that decision has to be made, there's something like, I think, 136 chemicals released into your body, of which cortisol and adrenaline are two of the major ones. And with cortisol, when it's released, it stays in your body for 36 hours without breaking down, and it can cause considerable damage to your organs, and particularly to your brain over a long time period, because it actually diminishes your brain cells and your memory capacity. And so the deer would run, and he would run for his life because he would not fight a lion, obviously. And by the time he's finished running, he's used all that cortisol and adrenaline, and then he's okay. Or if he's running and he comes to an abyss and he can't run anymore, he stops and he shakes. And that shaking or muscle tremor is what breaks down the rest of the cortisol, which allows the body to then continue functioning. And in our environments today, if we have a client on the phone screaming at us, or we read a nasty email, or we have people fighting with us nonstop about the electricity that they didn't consume and their high bills and, we can't fight with them and we can't run away from them. So that cortisol builds up constantly. So these are exercises that actually force your body into a tremor related or shaking related position, whereby your muscles break down the cortisol and release it from your system, allowing you to actually deal with your stress and to be able to cope better. So it's all natural. It's a few exercises. It would take you half an hour to an hour, depending on how long you want to tremor for before you go to bed at night. And it's really brilliant. It's natural and it really works.
Sure. Well, I think, Michelle, you might be getting a couple of emails from people, and ladies, don't say that we don't provide solutions other than sectional title related issues. Lillian, tell us briefly your stress relief. How do you relax?
Actually, I think what Michelle just said should become part of the training of being what it takes to be a managing agent.
Oh, we'll put together a whole program.
Yeah. Actually, I've got a very wonderful husband. So you're going to have to ask him how to handle stress. It is an unbelievable, you haven't got family support. People don't realize how being sectional title property manager, it affects your home life, it affects your friendship, it affects your entertainment, it affects, you don't have a life. You really honestly don't. And Friday nights, I just shut off. And my poor husband's got to look after himself. He doesn't even get a cup of tea from me. He must just leave me alone. And if he's lonely and he comes and speaks to me, he regrets it, unfortunately. So yes, I've got a very wonderful husband. He knows me and he knows where to stop.
Brilliant. Look, we all have to find our own thing, I think. And it's also about consistently just trying to get that balance right, trying hard, because I think if you're at your desk, we all could be workaholics, but you've got to put your foot down and you've got to look after your health. That's really, really the main thing. Ladies, thank you so much. Pearl, I'm so sorry that you haven't been able to join us. We're going to bring you on in the next webinar, I'm sure. And Lillian, Michelle, thank you so much for your insights, and we appreciate your time. I know that you're busy. I'd like to say thank you to ZD Fin, CIA, Meeting Pal, and BCM Track for being so amazing and for sponsoring us, giving us opportunities to look at doing different things. And to all of you, take care, look after yourselves, let's try and get everybody as educated as possible, and please give us feedback about what you would like to hear on this webinar and programs. I will be speaking to Vita Wilkins on one of our 15-minute slots. She's from the University of Pretoria, to also talk about getting involved in the managing agency diploma that they're going to be offering. So yeah, really, really appreciate it, and keep well, take care. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Marina.
Thank you.